Hello everyone and welcome to New Mode English. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to use there and it as preparatory subjects in English language. Before I start, I have to give you a brief explanation about what a preparatory subject is in English language. A preparatory subject is an unreal subject. It is also called a dummy subject. Why? Because it is an unreal subject. A preparatory subject it doesn't have a meaning and it is not usually translated in target languages. Why? Because it is an unreal subject. It is a dummy subject. In English language, the two most famous preparatory or dummy subjects are there and it. Okay, let's talk about there. We can use there in the structure there plus be plus noun. There plus be plus noun. Use and meaning. We use there as some kind of preparatory subject to say that something exists somewhere. We put the real subject after the verb be. So in this structure, there is the preparatory subject and the real subject is the noun which comes after to be. And we use this structure to say that something exists somewhere. Let me give you two examples. There are lots of people in the waiting room. As you can see, there is used as a dummy or preparatory subject. We have the to be verb are and the real subject, lots of people in the waiting room. So the sentence, mentions that lots of people exist in the living room. So there are lots of people in the waiting room. There used to be a fancy restaurant on this street. There is a preparatory subject here, and the real subject is a fancy restaurant on this street. So there used to be a fancy restaurant on this street. This mention refers to the fact that a fancy restaurant used to exist on this street in the past, but not now. Okay. We can use there in different verb tenses. We can use there plus be with be in any verb tense or in active or passive voice or with or without a modal auxiliary verb. Let me just give you many examples of this kind. There will be a storm on Saturday. Use of there at the beginning of the sentence as the preparatory subject with the modal verb will. There will be a storm on Saturday. There has been some tension between the participants. As you can see here, we have there as the preparatory subject, the use of there as a dummy subject with the present perfect. There must be something wrong here, using there as a preparatory subject with the modal verb must. There's going to be a conflict between the two parties, using there as a dummy subject or preparatory subject with the modal verb going to be for the future. So we can use there with different verb tenses. We can use there in active and passive. We can use there with modal verb. And in all these cases, there is a dummy subject. The real subject is put after the verb to be. Okay. So now different structures with there. We can also use the structure there seem to be or there seems to be, there tend or tends to be, or we can use there plus be before expressions of probability such as sure, likely, bound to, etc., etc. Let me give you different examples. There seem to be no consequences for his action. There seem to be, huh? Unfortunately, there seems to be no possible solution to the problem, huh? Using there as a preparatory subject and no possible solution. The word solution is the real subject here, and there is a dummy subject. In nature, there tends to be an evolutionary arms race between predator and prey. There's sure to be a full house and a great vibe at the festival, so buy your ticket today. There are likely to be some side effects, but the new drug looks promising. Using there with likely to there are likely to be means probably there is, or we're not sure about that, okay? It shows the likelihood or probability of something. And usually it is about 50% probability. It is not very probable. There are likely to be some side effects, but the new drug looks promising. Huh? Very likely to be means there are probably some side effects, but the new drug looks promising. So we can also use the structures there seem or there seems to be, there tend or tends to be. We can also use there plus be plus expressions of probability or likelihood, such as sure, likely, bound to, and stuff. So we can also use there plus used to. We can use there before used to as a dummy subject. For example, there used to be a library at the end of this street. There used to be. Note that the negative form is there didn't used to be, huh? There didn't used to be any bars in the neighborhood. This is the, British spelling of neighborhood. Americans usually write it without U. So neighborhood without U is American style, but with U is British. There didn't used to be any bars in the neighborhood, using there as a dummy or preparatory subject before used to. We can also use the structure there is no use in, or there's no point in, also there's no need. We often use the expressions there is no use in, or there's no point in plus verb ing, and there's no need plus to plus verb, or an infinitive with to. So remember, after there's no use in or there's no point in, we have to use verb ing because in is a preposition. And as you may know, after all prepositions in English language, we have to use verb ing or a gerund. But after need, we need to use an infinitive. There's no point in hating those who hate you, huh? There's no point in hating there as a preparatory subject. There's no use in trying to make him understand. He doesn't want to understand. There's no use in. And structure, there's no use in or there's no point in refers to the fact that something is pointless to do or to be done, or something is a waste of time to do or to be done. Another example. Yes, we made a mistake, but there's no need to panic. We'll find out how to fix this. There's no need to panic, huh? Need plus to plus verb. There's no need for you to worry. Everything is okay. Again, another use of an infinitive after need. We also have the phrase for you as the subject of the infinitive, for you to worry. For you to worry. So it was all about there. Now, I want to talk about another um, preparatory subject, another very famous and important and useful preparatory subject in English language, which is the word it. It as a preparatory subject. We can use it as a preparatory subject in many cases in English language. For example, we can use it as a preparatory subject to talk about time, weather, temperature, distance, and etc. For example, it's 5 o'clock. It as a preparatory subject. In order to talk about time, we can start our sentences with the preparatory or dummy subject, it. So you say, it's 5 o'clock. It's Saturday tomorrow, huh? Using it at the beginning of the sentence to talk about days. It's snowing, using it as a preparatory subject at the beginning of the sentence to talk about the weather. It's very hot today. It's 35 degrees. Using it at the beginning of the sentence as a dummy subject to talk about the weather. It's only 12 miles from the hotel. Using it at the beginning of the sentence to talk about the distance. So, another use of it as a preparatory subject is when we want to refer to something that has already been mentioned. So, something already mentioned. We use it to refer to something that we have already mentioned. What is it? It seems like an old piece of metal. It refers to that. I read a good book last week. It was my second book this month. It refers to the book, something that we have already mentioned. Next part. We can use it in the structure it plus be plus adjective plus infinitive, infinitive with two, as a preparatory subject. We use it plus be or seem as a preparatory subject before an adjective plus to infinitive, infinitive with two. The infinitive clause is the real subject of the sentence in this case, but we put it at the end because it is too long. Let me just give you a brief explanation here, everybody. In English language, okay, usually native speakers do not prefer to start their sentences with long subjects. So whenever the subject of the sentence is long, it is a long phrase or a long clause, they tend to put it at the end position and start their sentences with a preparatory subject, it. So very clear. Do not start your sentences with a long subject. Instead, put the long subject at the end position and start your sentence with the word with the preparatory or dummy subject, it. For example, this sentence is very correct in English language. It seems impossible to get out of here unharmed. Why? Because the long subject is put at the end position. Usually native speakers do not prefer to say to get out of here unharmed seems impossible. Why? It is not, I don't say that it is incorrect. Structure is correct. But the fact is that I have started my sentence with a very long subject, which seems too unusual in English language. To get out of here unharmed seems impossible is a strange sentence in English language. So we prefer to put it at the end position to get out of here unharmed and start our sentences with the preparatory subject, it. Another example. It's been quite hard to go through all the difficulties we have encountered. It is very strange to start my sentence with a very long subject. To go through all the difficulties we have encountered is quite hard. So the whole, subject is very long to go through all the difficulties we have encountered. Instead, I put it at the end position and start my sentence with preparatory subject, it. It's been quite hard to go through all the difficulties we have encountered. Do not start your sentences with a long subject, especially when the subject is an infinitive clause like this, to go through all the difficulties. So generally, we do not prefer to start our sentences with an infinitive clause. Okay? Do not start your sentences with the infinitive clause. Put the infinitive next, like to get out of here, and start with it. We can also use phrases such as it's nice to hear from you again. Note that we also use it plus be plus noun plus to plus infinitive. For example, it would be a pleasure to have you at my house. Again, we don't say to have you at my house would be a pleasure. I told you, do not start with an infinitive. Put the infinitive next. Start with dummy subject, it. So we can also use the structure it plus be plus adjective plus a that clause. Again, that clause is a long clause in English language. Therefore, we do not prefer to start our sentences with a that clause. Put that clause at the end of the sentence. We also use it as a preparatory subject when the real subject of the sentence is a that clause. Let me give you one or two examples. It is unlikely that they will ever agree. The clause that they will ever agree is a long clause. Do not start your sentence with this. That they will ever agree is very unlikely. Instead, we put it at the end position and start with the preparatory subject, it. Another example. It's surprising that the paramedics could save the woman's life. We don't say that the paramedics could save the woman's life is surprising. Very long subject. Start with it. It's just wonderful that we can all be here today. Note that we also often use it plus be plus noun plus that clause. For example, it's a shame that you can't come, huh? We don't say that you can't come is a shame, okay? Do not start your sentences with a that clause. It is considered a long clause. Use that at the end of the sentence. Instead, start with the dummy subject, it. So we can use it as a preparatory subject with the phrase takes two to talk about the length of time, okay? We use the structure we use this structure, I mean, it takes two plus infinitive to talk about time we need to do something or the length of time we need to do something. For example, it takes me 20 minutes to get to work every day. We don't say to get to work every day takes me 20 minutes as a long subject. We say it takes me 20 minutes to get to work every day. How long did it take you to write your essay? How long did it take you to write your essay? So, next part, cleft sentences. We can use it at the beginning of a cleft sentence to emphasize on elements of the sentence. Let me just give you a brief explanation about cleft sentences and what cleft sentences are. Everybody, we use cleft sentences in English language to emphasize one part of a sentence. I will make a video about cleft sentences later, and you can watch that video as well. But for now, and they have different forms. You know, they have different forms and structures. But now I just want to talk about one of its form. I mean, using it at the beginning of a cleft sentence as a preparatory it. But anyhow, the use of cleft sentence is to emphasize one part of a sentence. For example, it was Peter who took your car. I am emphasizing Peter. It as a subject, dummy subject. It's my laptop that doesn't work. I'm emphasizing my laptop. I have started with preparatory subject, it. It was in the evening that they arrived. I'm emphasizing the word in the evening. Okay? So we can use it at the beginning of a cleft sentence to emphasize one part of the sentence. In all these examples, it is a dummy, unreal, or preparatory subject. So finally, we can use both there and it in the expressions there is no use or it is no use. We use the word use. We can with the word use we can use either there or it as a preparatory subject. It's no use in it's no use in or without in. It's no use arguing with your brother. It's not really his fault. Or there's no use or there's no use in arguing with your brother. It's not really his fault. Okay, so that's it for now, everybody. It was all about how to use the two very important preparatory subjects in English language, there and it. Let me just give you a brief review over everything that I've already said, and then I can wrap up and finish the video. So we can use there and it as preparatory subjects. We can use the structure there plus be plus noun. For example, there are lots of people in the waiting room. There used to be a fancy restaurant on this street. We use there in this structure. I mean, there plus be plus noun to say that something exists somewhere. We can use there in different verb tenses. For example, there will be, there has been, there must be, there's going to be with different modal verbs. And this structure is a very flexible structure, and it is a very useful and practical structure, of course, in English language as well. We can also use there in the structure as a we can use there as a preparatory subject in phrases there seem or there seems to be, there tend or tends to be, there are sure, there are likely, and stuff. For example, there seem to be, there seems to be, there tends to be, there is sure to be, there are likely to be, to talk about the different levels of likelihood or probability in English language. For example, there is bound to be is a very strong phrase. I mean, is a rather stronger phrase than there's likely, because likely is not very strong. It's about 50% probability. Bound to is stronger than likely. And so anyway, we can use the structure to talk about likelihood of something. We can also use there before used to as the preparatory subject, such as there used to be a library at the end of the street. The negative form is there didn't used to be a library. We can also use there as a preparatory subject in the phrases there is no use in, or there is no point in plus verb ing, or there is no need plus infinitive. There's no point in hating, there's no use in trying, there's no need to panic, there's no need for you to worry, and stuff. We can use the next part was about using it as a preparatory subject because it is another preparatory or dummy subject which we use in English language. We can use it to refer to time, weather, temperature, distance. It's 5 o'clock, it's Saturday, it's snowing, it's very hot today, it's only 2 miles from hotel and stuff. We can use it to refer to something which has already been mentioned. I read a good book last week. It was my second book this month. It refers to the book. We can use the structure it plus be plus adjective plus infinitive. As we do not prefer to start our sentences with an infinitive, we put infinitive clause next, at the end of the sentence, and we start our sentences with the preparatory subject it. So instead of saying to get out of here unharmed seems impossible, we can say it seems impossible to get out of here unharmed. So, and we can also use the structure it plus adjective plus that clause. Again, that clause is considered a long clause in English language. Native speakers prefer not to use or not to start their sentences with a that clause. They put that clause next or at the end of the sentence. They move it to the end of the sentence, and instead they start their sentences with it. So instead of saying that they will agree is very unlikely, we say it is unlikely that they will ever agree. And finally, we can use the phrase it takes. We can start our sentences with it. Finally, no, it's a penultimate point, I think. We can use it takes to plus infinitive to talk about the length of time. For example, it takes me 20 minutes to get to work every day. It takes me a week to finish the project and something like this. We can also use it at the beginning of a cleft sentence to emphasize one part of a sentence. Like, for example, it was Peter who took your car. Here I am emphasizing Peter. It is a dummy subject here. It's my laptop that doesn't work. It was in the evening that they arrived and stuff. And finally, we can use there and it both in the phrases it's no use in doing something or there's no use in doing something. Okay, that's it for today, everyone. Thanks for watching this video. Please make sure to subscribe into my channel for further lessons and videos. And you can also like the video if you liked it. If you have already liked it, please click the like button and support me. Thank you very much. And I hope that you have enjoyed and learned. Good luck and goodbye. See you soon.